Hi, I'm Danielle with Stitch and Designs. Welcome back to my channel. For today's tutorial, I have a Sew Along Light Up bag from K&A Custom Fabrics and Hardware. It is Doctor Who themed. Oh my gosh, this thing is so cool. So, one, check out the front. So it's a shadow bag. This thing is so stinking cool. Like when it's all lit up, like, oh my gosh, it is so cool. So, fun facts or fun features. So here's the front. It is on a clear vinyl. Super cool. And then when you flip it around to the bag, you got the DW. And then this one is done with the antique silver hardware. So we have the strap connectors, we have Chicago screws, we have zipper pulls, and then of course through K&A there's coordinating webbing, and they also have antique silver swivel clasps and slide adjusters. So you can have all the antique silver hardware. But not only is there antique silver, if I can get it to stay. There's also gold. And don't worry, I know we all have that worry of the 50 Shades of Gold going on. K&A carries all the hardware for it, so everything's going to match. So on this one, I don't have the Chicago screws, but I have the strap anchors, and then I have the zipper pulls, and then of course swivel clasps and slide adjusters on this one. And then this one is just so cool. So a couple things about this video. It seems really long, and technically it is, but there's two videos in this one thing. So the first video, or the first part, or so part one, I do this one with the antique silver hardware, and I do this on my industrial machine. The second one, and then also this one has the white jelly on the inside. So when it lights up, it has a white effect to it. On this one, so part two, I do this one on my domestic machine. So you watch me fumble and mess up, my machine freaks out. Oh yeah, so then I have to get a little creative. So yeah, anyway, you'll see all my mess ups and everything else in there. But I do show you some tips and tricks for if you're doing this on the domestic to be able to help save your machine, save yourself some frustration and anger. And this one, I use a golden yellow jelly vinyl. And so it gives this like really cool gold glow effect. Oh, it's so pretty. And it just looks really good with the gold hardware, the gold in the straps for the webbing. It all just looks really good. So either way. And if you don't have jelly vinyl, you can use clear. Either option will work, and then I explain that part in the video. And then if you have, it comes with the EL wire lights for the sew along, but it only comes in white. So if you already have it, have the wire in other colors, you can use other colors, and I talk about that in the video as well. So it gives you different color effects. So this one, you see me kind of struggle a little bit with the wire lights, because you have to like jump over it so you're not sewing over them. But in this one, I do a couple different things. And so I'm literally doing it for the first time while videoing, so you're watching me figure this out. And I really like how it worked out. So if you're unsure about the EL wire lights and putting that into your binding, fast forward to part two, towards the end of part two. And then I show you, I add in a little eyelet for it. I do a couple extra little steps in there, and it turned out really well. And I really like how it turned out, and I will continue to do that for the shadow bags, for the Pimp My bags and everything. So I hope you guys enjoy this tutorial. I hope you like watching it. And I'm going to show you all the photos of the light ups and everything are going to be at the end of the video. So if you just want to see these guys glow, go to the end of the videos. Okay. And thank you guys for watching, and enjoy this tutorial of the K&A Sew Along Doctor Who shadow bag. Okay, so when you get your Doctor Who light up bag, this is what it's going to come looking like. So we take these guys off. Roll it out. So we have a waterproof canvas lining. So I'll start with the lining pieces. So we have our 2 exterior pieces, or the front and the back, or technically in this case, because the front is going to be a clear bag. So we'll have the back lining piece, and then this one we can fold in half and turn it into a pocket piece. And then we have our main gusset, and then these are our zipper gussets here. And then we have our clear vinyl piece. I'm super excited about this, so kind of gives you an idea of what you can see through it. Oh, this is gonna look so cool all lit up. And then we have our pebbled vinyl exterior, and we have our back piece, and it's got the cool little DH on it, or DW, sorry. And then this would be the front, so it's back, front. We have our main gusset bottom and our 2 zipper gussets, and then these are our tabs for the strap connectors to attach to. Also available, we got some hardware options here. So this is the strap webbing that I'm going to be working with. So to bring it in nice and close, look how cool that is. That is so stinking cool. I absolutely love how this looks. And so what's fun about that is that there are a couple different hardware color options. So let me pull out this one and this one so you guys can see them. So with the strap, we have an antique silver and a gold. And so don't worry about the gold, because I know a lot of times you end up getting those 50 shades of gold, depending on what you're working with. But there are, through K&A, they have the little swivel clasps. They carry the slide adjusters. So you can get all of your hardware from K&A, so it is a matching gold. So you don't have to worry about the whole 50 shades of gold thing happening. But look how good that strap looks with the gold or the antique silver. Both of them are going to look absolutely awesome. So these are the strap connectors. Super cool. And then the zipper pulls look the same, just of course in a smaller scale. So here's the antique silver. And then here's the gold. Very shiny. And then what's cool is that there's also Chicago screws too. So look how cute these little doors are. I don't want to take them in the bag because I will probably lose it, and I definitely do not want to lose it. So little Chicago screws, super cute. So I only have the Chicago screws in antique silver, but oh my gosh, these are going to be so awesome. So lots of really cool options for this. So now I'm going to cut all of this out. Something else is going to come with this sew along is going to be your EL wire lights. So you're going to need to get a battery, some batteries, 2 AA batteries. We want to make sure to test out the lights. So the lights that you're going to be getting are going to be white. And make sure that you put the prongs going in the correct direction. Okay, I don't know if you can hear the high pitch of the battery pack. So what you can do to be able to help muffle that noise, if your battery, because all battery packs will make noise. Some of them are just going to be louder than others. So it's something that you can also make, that when you put it into your bag, you can also wrap it around, like make a little foam pouch for it, and it will help muffle the sound of it if it bothers you that much to do that. All right, I'm going to go turn off the lights, and then I'm going to show you some options that we have that you can, different colors you can use for the different binding to be able to give it a different effect. Okay, so depending on the type of I like to use for these light up bags, jelly vinyl makes an excellent binding. If you do not have jelly vinyl, you can use clear, but if you use a cotton, like a pre-made binding, it will dull and mute the light more than the jelly will. So you may not, it might not give it to its full effect to be able to do a light up bag if you use pre-made binding with the light or the white one, if you're going to do that with cotton. And then of course, if you use like a waterproof canvas or water resistant canvas, it's not going to let the light shine through at all. So either using jelly and or clear. If you have the TPU, which is the softer, a little bit more pliable jelly vinyl or clear, that would work really well for the binding. Or if you only have PVC, PVC is perfectly well as well. That's all I have for jelly is the PVC type, so it's a little bit stiffer. You can also get the jelly from K&A. So I'm going to first show you the white jelly. So I'm going to stretch out a little bit of the light. And so when I wrap it around inside of the white, here is the white with our light right here in between my fingers. You can see my fingers moving. That's going to show you what the white would look like. The light would be on with the white jelly. Wow, my words. And then to kind of give you an idea, you can kind of see it a little bit. It'll help it when you get all the blue and everything lit up together. So there's the white option. Roll that up real quick. And then I have like a dark yellow. It's kind of like a gold color. So there is the gold color. So if you were going to do like gold hardware with it and to help bring out the gold color that's in the webbing, you could do the gold or like a deep golden yellow for the jelly, and it kind of help bring out that extra color. So there's that option. Here is a very muted yellow color. So somewhere between like the gold and the golden yellow and the white. So this is kind of like in between those two colors. So it may not match the gold hardware as well, but it kind of gives it that yellowish tint to it. That is a good option. And then I have to take a little, haven't used this one yet. So I got some blue, like a baby blue color. Not as light blue as like our lining pieces. And here's the blue color. It's going to make it a little bit darker because it is a little bit darker of a lighter blue. I know this kind of sounds redundant, but you really want to stick to really light colors because this is white, and to really let the light shine through, you want to stick with your lighter colors. So a really light blue or pastel blue would look really pretty with this as well. So you have a few different color options that you can use for the binding for if you're going to use jelly. If you're just going to use like a clear TPU or PVC, then you're just going to get the true color of your light. And again, this white light comes with the Sew Along kit or pack, I should say. It's not a complete kit. So you'll get this light. If you personally already have lights, and let's say you have like a yellow light, you can totally use a yellow light. If you personally have that yourself or want to order something separately, but K&A will only have the white one and only will offer the white one. Okay, so a few different options, I think, because I have two of these. I think to show you guys, I'll do one with the white, which I'll do with the antique silver hardware. And then I have this gold color, golden yellow color for the jelly. And I'm going to do that one with the gold hardware. So you guys get to see both of them. And so now you get to see this color, the golden color and the white. And so these were my other two colors that I had. So the really light pale yellow and then a blue. So it's a little bit darker than like a pale blue. So this would be like a pale or a light blue, a little bit darker. So just if you Granted, you wouldn't see the yellow in it, but the yellow would look really good with that blue. And then the white, of course, would just look good as well. So these will be my two choices that I do for the two different bags. And then to make your jelly as your binding, what you want to do is, so this is almost a complete fresh roll. So I'm going to, so it's not quite a full length roll. This one is, well, pretty much is it's like 53. So I want to cut like a little bit more than an inch, not quite an inch and a half. I don't want to do an inch and a half, inch and 3/4, like an inch and a quarter would be plenty, because I like to go an inch. Yes, you can use an inch. An inch is very nice. But if you are newer to binding, if you're unsure of how to really utilize the binding, it's easier if you give yourself a little bit of a grace. And if you make your binding a little bit wider, when you go to put your clip it on and then you're going to sew around it, the side that you can see, and I'll explain this again when I go to do the actual sewing part of it on, the excess part is going to go on the underside, the part that you can't see. So as you're going, you can see your top, you can see how close your binding is getting, and you can see how it looks, and all that excess is on the underside. So then when you're done, you know, because all the extra was on the back side that you couldn't see, you're catching it, which is the important part, because if you don't catch it, it's always like, I know for me, it's a horrible feeling. It's just like, oh, I missed the binding. So then you got to try to stuff it underneath again and then try to sew just that one part, and it becomes a little bit of a pain. So to save yourself, and I've been doing this for a while, I cut it at an inch and a quarter. And then when I'm all said and done, I just cut off the excess. No one would ever know that you had to cut off excess. And then plus cutting off the excess, it just makes it look really nice. And it gives it kind of like that, help give it that finished edge. So I'm cutting the full length of this at the inch and a quarter. If you didn't have a full length of this, and let's say your length was only like 20 something inches or 20 inches, that's fine. You'll just have to cut multiples of them. And so because it's something, this isn't going to fray, you can overlap them. When we get to the binding part, you can overlap them a little bit. Totally fine. Not a big deal. You work with what you got. So, and I'm going to cut 2 of these because I don't know if this will be enough. Let's just kind of play with it. Oop, let me finish cutting this and I'll play. There we go. So to kind of test to see how it will fit around, I'm just kind of pinching it. Oh, do I have something I can put on there? Aha. Paper clip, that'll work. This will kind of give me a rough idea. So I will need to cut, looks like 2. But this would give you guys a general idea of how long it needs to be. Oop, I just moved it. Well, we'll just go with roughly with that, because it will overlap a little bit and stuff will need to get moved. So this is at 32 inches. So roughly 32 inches is the length that you're going to need. If you have more, yay. If you have less, then you might need to have double up on it. Okay, so I have 1, and let's go cut a second one. Now the next thing we need to cut is our interfacing. So because this is a water resistant canvas, I don't need to interface this. I will iron it to be able to help get out all those wrinkles. And I don't need to cut a interfacing or Decoville heavy for the front piece, because it would kind of defeat the purpose of having a light up bag. But what I want to have cut for, I'm going to be using Decoville Heavy. I'm going to cut out a circle piece for my back, for my zipper pieces, and then my bottom gusset. For our stabilizer pieces, our bottom gusset, we're going to be doing 16 by 2.5 inches. So we got 16 inches long by 2.5 inches wide. So that's our bottom gusset. Our zipper gussets, we're going to do 14 by 1 inch. So let's just cut 14 by 2. And then we'll just cut that in half, and that will give us our 2 1-inch pieces. And then once you get it down to 14 inches, go ahead and cut it down to 2 1-inch pieces. So these are 14 inches long by 1 inch wide. And then the next part, we're going to be doing a little bit of drawing. So we're going to be drawing a 8.5 inch circle. So I have my end marks, and so half of 8 is 4, half of half is a quarter, so 8 1/4. Sorry, 4 1/4. I can do math. I can math here. Is going to be our halfway point. And so I'm just going to mark my tops and bottoms. So lining up my 4 1/4 with my center mark, and then I'm going to make my little tick marks at the 0 and 8 1/2. And then just kind of work your way around. It does not have to be perfect. So I'm just moving it every so often, remarking. All right, once you get all your little marks, you're just going to connect the dots, which will then give you your circle. Cool. And then I know it's hard to tell, but you can see there's my circle outline. If you plan to make multiples of these, I would suggest then once you cut it out to take a piece of paper and then trace your 8 1/2 inch circle onto the piece of paper, cut it out, mark what it is, put it in a safe spot. So that way when you go to make another one, or potential future K&A So Long bags that utilize the same shape, you already have your stabilizer piece cut out, ready to go, and all you have to do is trace it, and you don't have to do the little line drawings like I did. All right, before we get sewing, I'm going to go over all of our pieces. So these are our zipper gussets, and I do have some Decoville Heavy interfaced on the back of them. We have our 2 zipper lining pieces, and double check that your lining pieces are the same as your exterior piece. So you can see my lining is a tad longer. So I'm just going to hold that there and trim that one off. And then this one I believe is also long. So it's always better that they are a little longer than shorter, because longer you can always trim off. So no big deal. but it's better to double check that their length prior to, because you don't want to start sewing them together and then it's going to make your gusset go a little wonky when you get to that part. So then we have our regular gusset and then our exterior gusset, and then we have our lining gusset, and this one is longer. Something happens between what's on Alex's end and the printers, so things happen. It is a-okay. Left that a little long. There we go. So we have those pieces. We're gonna have 2 of our lining pieces. One of them, like I said earlier, is going to be turning into a slip pocket, and so we can sew, we'll top stitch it, and we can either sew it down the middle to have like 2 little pockets, or yeah, probably the easiest would be to sew it right down the middle. So we have those 2. One of them is going to go on the back, the exterior, and this one, at least for mine, is larger. So, and that is really not a big deal. So when I baste my lining and my exterior piece together, I'll just do it with my exterior side up, so that way I can see where the excess is, and then do the basting off of the exterior piece, and then just trim off that. So no big deal. Here is the super cool front. Like, that's just gonna be so freaking cool. And then I showed earlier the webbing. So this is the coordinating webbing. You can get a little bit better view. So super cool webbing. And then there are, like I showed earlier, some Chicago screws. Super cool. Then we have our 2 strap adjuster. Nope. Strap words. I'm gonna get it. My brain is just not functioning. I'm like, I know it's connector. There we go. Oh, man, me and words. So we have our pieces that we can either put into the D-ring. Wow, I am just all over the board here. So in between the gussets, we can either have them go in between those 2 pieces. If you're doing it on an industrial machine, no big deal. If you're doing this on a domestic machine, I will show you like process of how to do it, but I'm actually going to do my second one of these on the domestic machine, and I'll film that to show you guys little tips and tricks. Hopefully I don't screw it up, because but so we have our strap connector, now that I actually remember the words, our 2 zipper pulls for this, and then my other strap connector. And then also what K&A also carries is to continue in the antique silver is the slide adjuster for the crossbody strap, and then our swivel clasps as well. So everything is antique silver, except for my zipper tape over here. So I pulled out my silver from my stash. So I have a dark blue, which isn't quite the same navy as our exterior. So this is where I'm like not sure which one I want to do, because this has some blue that's similar to that, but then it's got some lighter blue, and then this one on the front's got the lighter blue, and it kind of matches this one. Let's get that in front. So kind of matches, but it kind of doesn't. And then this one kind of matches more of the center. I think I'm going to go with this light blue because it's like a nice little pop contrast for where the zipper tape would go. So help pull some of the lighter blue and help pull some of the lighter blue out of there. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I have for this one, my white jelly vinyl for my binding. And then of course, hanging out over here in the meantime is the EL wire. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make my crossbody strap, and I like to make my crossbody straps 52 to 54 inches long. Got a little piece of tape on the end. So I'm just measuring out, so my thing is 36, and then here we go. And once you get your, if you're going to use webbing, go ahead and melt your ends. If you're going to be making your own, then you'll go about doing the 4 inches wide and fold in half and fold in half, and then stitching it down the 2 sides, and then you'll make your webbing or make your strap. But putting the strap together is, this part is the same. So we're just going to be adding in our hardware to this. So we're going to grab our slide adjuster. We're going to go up one side of the bar, down the other side of the bar, and then kind of pull the excess. And then, so we're just going to have this little itty bitty piece. If you want to, you can pull a little extra. If you want to sew a box here, you can sew a box. You can sew a couple lines. It's totally your preference when it comes to this part. Me personally, I just sew a line back and forth a couple times. Nothing too super fancy. And then you're just going to, from here, I'm going to have the edge. So you can see the edge of my binding, webbing. So I have that side facing up. So that's going to be like the inside. And then I'm going to pull it to where I get all the way to the other end. And I do it like that. So that way I'm making sure that I don't have any twists. I'm going to add my swivel clasp. So pointing down like this, goes through. And then I pull all the excess, so then it makes it into a loop. And then I grab my other end. So we have, I'm going to show this horizontal this way. So we have the inner piece. So I'm going to go up one side, go over, and then down the other side. So it should look like this. So if I push up on my 2 outer pieces, they should be separate than my middle piece. So it should look like that. And then you can just pull more slack if you want. And then double check that what we have in here to the end, there are no twists. And then we're going to grab this piece. And then with our swivel clasp facing upward, we're going to go through and then pinch it over. So then this side, being where the raw edges is going to be on the underside. So it makes it the bottom. And then if you want to, you can sew a little box if you want. Your preference. I'm just going to sew my lines. Okay, so at this point we have a finished crossbody strap. Oh, I already like it. This webbing is so cool. Oh, this is gonna be awesome. I'm super excited. Except for I'm easily excitable, so. Now let's go ahead and do our zipper. So I have my dark blue thread in, and so I want to make sure to do this so that the top stitching somewhat kind of matches. Because if I went in and started doing my zipper pocket, I want to try to match this color, but I don't have this light of a blue. So I'm going to use white, because when we top stitch across the pocket and then stitch down, we can see that. We're going to be able to see that stitching through this. So that's why I'm trying to do all my dark stuff now, and then I'm going to swap out to my white thread to be able to do this and then do the binding, because it's white jelly, so I want to use white thread. So doing all my dark colors first. All right, so then you want to make sure that your zipper tape is just a little bit longer than your zipper gusset. So you don't have to go like crazy longer, but a little longer doesn't hurt. And so not really fun story, but well, slightly depressing story too. So when I've done some of these bags where it's binding and then you have to tuck the zipper in and stuff like that, I don't always top stitch when I sew my zipper gusset to my gusset. and I just let it go. Well, I've had a couple times where if I've cut my zipper to the exact, and depending on the stitch length here or seam allowance, anyway, my zipper has pulled out, and it's just like, oh, it's so devastating. So I always like to say, go a little bit longer, and then when we're stitching our zipper and we're sewing our gussets together, I make sure that I sew across my zipper a few times to make sure we're really holding that zipper, because I do not personally want my zipper to come out. Because that is just like, wait, let your heart just drop into your stomach feeling. So we're not going to have that today. So we're going to line up the top of our zipper with this. If you want, you can just clip this on, and you can baste your zipper to your exterior first and then go and add your lining if you so choose, and sew them on as separate pieces. But if you don't want to, so we have right side of our zipper tape facing the right side of our exterior. We're going to grab our, if you want to do it like I'm going to be doing it, I'm going to grab the right side, so the light blue side. So we have the white side is the back side, or so the wrong side. So I'm going to grab the right side of my lining and put it to the wrong side of my zipper tape. So the exterior and my lining will be right sides together. And so I'll clip those, making sure to line up the ends of my exterior and my lining. So I got those lined up, and then just pick my clips up one at a time. And this will help save on thread. And if you're doing like batch sewing, it will takes a little less time, but it's personal preference. So we're going to stitch this down at 3/8 inch seam allowance. If I can get everything to want to go in. Okay. And then at this point, we're going to turn it out, and then we're going to just pinch. If you have the seam roller tool, you can use that, or you can just pinch. But you want to be careful when you are pinching. You don't want to over pinch and pull them, separate them really hard, because you can cause your zipper to kind of do a wave thing. So you're just kind of just pressing your pin. I'm using my thumb and my fingers back here to pinch this part to help it kind of lay it down where I just sewed my seams together. And then I'm just kind of over here like pulling this way a little bit, and then so by pinching and then I'm pulling a little bit, I'm not causing or putting any stress itself directly onto my zipper, hopefully reducing the fact that I'm not going to get waves, but it happens. And then we're just going to go through, and we're going to top stitch this at 1/8 of an inch. All right, well, that's one side. And so you can, a little bit of waves, not horrible. But then once we add our zippers into it, you won't really see it. Okay, we're going to grab our other exterior, and we're going to lay it right side down on top of this. And so what we want to do is, from one side, we want to line up the exterior with the other exterior and line it up down the edge, and we'll clip along. So the first one, when I did this side, I did it in one step. So I added my exterior and my lining piece together and sewed one time. So on this one, I'll show you if you were gonna do it separately. So you want to just sew this down at 1/8 of an inch. And I'm not worrying about back stitching on this one. And then from this side, I'm going to have my lining right side up. We're going to take our other lining piece, and we're going to lay it down right side down. So it'll be right side and right side, wrong side of the zipper, but the right side down. And then we're going to grab, and we're going to line it up with the top and along with our edge. And then this is when we'll take it and we will sew it down at 3/8 inch seam allowance. And then again, we're just going to push our exterior over and our lining over. And then we're just going to pinch and press everything down. And then you can't take this over to the iron and press it because you'll melt your vinyl. If you did it from this side, you could kind of press it if you wanted to, but doing some finger pressing will be a-okay too. And then we're just going to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch. All right, now we're going to add our zipper pulls, and I'll explain what I did because I totally messed up and didn't explain what I was doing prior to pulling the zipper apart. Okay, so what I failed to do on the first one, when you want to take a note of how your teeth look. So this is pretty darn even. So that's what we want to see when we put our zipper on. If you have a zipper jig, totally use that. If you don't, you can follow this one. You're going to grab your zipper. We're going to start by putting one side in first, just a little bit. And then we're going to kind of bend it open, add our other one. And then at this point, we want to look in from the top. And you can see how this side's coming up a little bit higher than the other side. That's not what we want because before we pulled them apart, they were even. So when we look at the back, we want to see them even. So if you kind of pull the one, you're going to manipulate, pull the zipper back off of the zipper teeth, and then try to maneuver your teeth around to get them to be more even. And then, so as we can see here, this side is higher. So if I were to pull this on, you can see I have a little bubble thing right there. So that's something we don't want. So we just need to push our zipper pull off a little bit and then kind of work our teeth in. There. And now they look even. So then when I pull it on, I don't have a weird bubble to one side or the other. So then that will make a beautiful zipper pull. And then I just pull these guys together and we have a beautiful double pull. Yeah, there we go. Now they really fine. A beautiful double pull. Yay! All right, now to add the gusset. All right, we're gonna lay one right on top of the other. So we have our exterior to our exterior side. We're gonna put right sides together, lining them up. And this one, you can do it in one step if you want to. I'm gonna do it in 2 steps just because I tend to have a tendency of things shifting on me. All right, so I'm going to start out by doing a 1/4 inch to sew the exterior on first. And I'm not going to worry about back stitching on this one. But what I will do, I will stitch over the zipper teeth a couple times. And then we'll flip it over and then we'll take our lining with right sides together. And we're making sure that our tops are lined up. And then from side to side, we are lined up as well. And then clip that in place. And then we're going to stitch this together at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And then I am back stitching on this one. And then we'll flip it over and we'll do the exact same thing on this side. Okay, so now that those are all stitched together, we're going to pull the lining. There we go, so you can see it a little bit easier. We're gonna pull the lining around so that way it meets up with the back side of our exterior. And I wanna pinch where we sewed everything together, and I like to throw a clip on in that spot just to help hold it. Do the same thing to the other side. And then to help just get everything lined up, I'm going to clip our lining and our gusset together for when I do the basting stitches. All right, and then I'm going to lengthen my stitch, and then I'm just going to go around at 1/8 of an inch, and I'm going to go full circle on one side, flip it around, and I'm going to do the other side. So that's going to sew my lining and my exterior together, and it's just going to make life trying to be able to attach it to the exterior circle front and the back a lot easier. Oh snap. I was just going into such a off my own little world. I totally forgot about these. Whoopsie. Well, guess I'm going to be doing something interesting with these. So I don't have... There it is. So we're going to find the middle of this. Whoops. So these are 2-inch wide, so we're just going to... So using my little 1-inch ruler to find the center. And then if you want to use double-sided stick tape and lay it right down the center and then match your edges and have it lay on top of the double-sided stick tape like so. Let me bring you in closer. So if I laid double-sided stick tape right down the middle and then push my edges to meet that line, the double-sided stick tape will help hold it in place while you sew. If you want to do that, you totally can. I'm just going to line up on the edge and then sew 1/8 of an inch down the side. Okay. All right, how do I want to do this? Well, guess I'll show you the alternative method. First, so if you have a domestic machine and if you wanted to put them on how they're inside the gusset, they would actually go right in here, and then you would sew these on, and so then these would be sticking out right in there. But that's like in that, and if you're using the vinyl, it just adds a lot of layers. So if you wanted to do it that way on a domestic machine, change this out to being like a navy blue cotton woven, or if you wanted to add like an extra little pop, you could do it in a light blue color or a white, any of the colors that would coordinate with the bag. Totally your preference on colors. So that is one way to do it to help reduce the bulk. But if you're really worried about just having all that amount of layers right there, you're gonna do what I'm gonna do, but hopefully you do it prior to sewing your gusset together and not having to finagle what I'm doing. So what I'm gonna do, if you had a piece of double-sided stick tape, you could lay it right here, and then when you laid it down on top of here, it would help hold it in place. An option, if you wanted to, you can top stitch across right here if you want. If you do it at like a 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch, totally your preference. If you wanted to do it, you totally can. I'm going to skip that, add this to where the bottom of my strap connector is right here along that edge. And then I'm just going to kind of sew, I'm going to sew a box around this. Or hopefully. I hope. Let's see what else I can mess up. Okay, I'm switching sides with my clip so that way I can start on this side. So just getting everything relined up, centering this piece onto, lining it up with my zipper. There we go. Okay, making sure my lining is out of the way so I don't accidentally sew on top of that too. And then I'm just going to go and follow my 1/8 inch right there. And I'm not back stitching because I'm going to pull all my stitches to the back. And I'm only going to be able to get up so high because it's going to run into my strap connector. So then when I get to that point where I really can't go any higher, rotate it over, sew across. And then you're going to sew back to where you meet. And I'm there. So I'm just going to lift my needle. I'm going to pull my threads long. And then I'm going to pull my threads to the back. And then hold on to those. And then you're going to, I like to triple knot these guys. So there's that. And then bonus part about doing it this way, now I can actually add a hole punch there and I can add a Chicago screw in there. So I will do that after I finish my other one. This way. And then when you fold this over and the ends meet, you don't necessarily want them to meet really close to this, to the strap connector, because you won't be able to really get as super high. So it's better to have it meet somewhere lower, so that way you are going to ensure that you are stitching over where these two pieces meet up. So we're going to, I'm going to use my little ruler, and my box is like 1 1/8. So I'm just kind of like, this is going to be a little interesting. So maybe a skosh over half. So I'm lining up the 1/2 inch mark here. Sorry, it's a little, okay, there we go. I can hold it. So I got my 1/2 inch mark on my ruler, and it's lined up with the top of my box with the stitching. So I'm going to go just over 1/2 inch because it's a little bit bigger than an actual inch. But my piece is an inch wide. So at 1/2 inch, I'm going to make a little mark. There we go. And so that's going to be my centered of my little box that I sewed. And that's where I'm going to make my hole for my Chicago screw. And making sure that your lining is tucked up out of the way, because you don't accidentally don't want to punch a hole into your lining. So then just punch a hole. There's that. We're going to grab one of our Chicago screws. There's one, and then, oh, I need to take them all off because, or can I get to the screws? Okay. Okay, let's not drop everything. Okay, one. Okay. Sorry, family joke of, because Count, what is it? No, it's not Count Chocula, but it's Count from Sesame Street, because he always goes, one, So that's the family joke of whenever we're doing something and we count. It's like, one, Sorry, we're weird, but it's okay. I like it. We do lots of random movie quotes too. So saying weird, it's like, yeah, weirdo. That one's from Treasure Planet. Love that movie. Okay, so sorry, I'm totally random. And then I'm gonna stick my post through my hole that I made. And then you're gonna kind of need to, hopefully I don't need to punch it again. Come on, because you want your post, there we go, to kind of stick through. There we go. Got it. Okay. And then you're going to need a little tiny screwdriver, and this is a flathead. So we're going to need a flathead screwdriver. And then if you have it, you want to grab some Loctite. So this is going to help hold your screw in place. The blue is one that you can take out. I believe the red is the permanent one where you can't take it out. I'm pretty sure the blue one is the one that I can take out. And it's getting colder, so this stuff is going to probably be a little more goopy than runny. So you want to just take a squeeze and you want to dab it on. Just a little blob on the end of your screw. And this is going to be the fun part, is if you have a magnetic screwdriver, it's even better, which this one is not. So I'm going to get it all over my fingers, but yay. Okay, there's still some on there. All right, I'm just going to set this in because I don't have a magnetic one. Okay, so that's there. And then a trick with doing screws or anything screws. I was gonna say anything like that. No, screws. You always want to, because if you just go, because it's lefty, loosey, righty, tighty. If you go straight into the righty to make it tight, if you're not seated, if your screws aren't lined up properly and you go to tighten it down, one, if if they're not lined up properly, you could potentially strip your screws, or when you try to tighten it, it's going to just lock up and you can't tighten it anymore and it's going to stick out really far. So you want to go to the left. Oop. And then sometimes you hear like a little click to where it will set in place. This one may not want to cooperate with me. Ugh, I wish this was magnetic. This would be so much easier. Okay, come on, work with me. Okay, apparently he really doesn't want to let me go left. I am struggling. Okay, yeah, so I started to go right a little bit and then it wouldn't let me turn right. Oh, sorry, as my hand was blocking the entire thing. Apologies. So I started to go right and it kind of like tightened and it didn't want to really turn anymore. So then I turned it back to the left and I could feel it kind of like set in place. And now as I turn to the right, it goes in a lot smoother. So that means it's properly seated. Especially because some of the things that we work with, the screws are super tiny and it's really easy to strip them, especially if you're using a Phillips head. It's really like the top of it. In a Phillips head, if you try to twist it and turn on it too hard, you can strip the head to where it's really hard. You can't turn it anymore, and then you have to do the whole rubber band trick thing. But anyway, so now that that's set up, then we can kind of turn that to get it to go upright. And there we go. We have a beautiful Chicago screw. And now I get to do it again to the other side. Now that I caught myself, we can go back to having our gusset and our lining gusset all clipped back together. Okay, now I can lengthen my stitch and I can baste this together now. 10 minutes later. And if you wanted to, the lining is just a tad bit wider. If you wanted to, you could go around and trim that up. And then the little edges right here where it sticks out a little bit, you can trim that so that way it evens up from here to here. It kind of makes that part even. Okay, so our gusset is all set. And we can put that aside. And now is my time. I'm going to swap out my thread for the white color. Alright, now I got my white thread in, so let's go ahead and start working on the lining piece, which really isn't too much to worry about or to do. Alright, so we're just going to grab one of our pieces. We're going to fold it in half, give it a nice finger press. We're making a taco. Except I probably wouldn't want to eat that taco. Anyway, so we're going to top stitch this, making sure I put my stitch length back down, and we're going to top stitch it at 1/8 of an inch. We're going to then grab anywhere on here and we're going to line up our bottoms. I'm going to throw some clips on it. And we're going to baste this around. So from one side to the other side, we're just going to baste that on. If you wanted to lengthen your stitch length, you can. And then if you lengthen your stitch length, just make sure to turn it back down. And we're going to find the middle. So I'm folding it in half, lining up our edges together. And I'm just doing like a light pinch. That was probably more than a light pinch, but pinch. And then I'm going to go from the bottom, and in my little pinch area that I made, I'm going to go from the bottom up to here. And then with this, I definitely wanted to make sure to swap out to the lighter color because it's a lot harder to see my stitching. And see, if I did the dark blue that I had before, it would have been blatantly obvious where my stitching was. And then when you look through the front and you look and you see in, you would be able to see that stitching. So I definitely don't want to make it super duper obvious. All right, and for your woven, if you have a label or I have a white one with blue. If if you have a label of some kind, depending on if you want to put it on the interior, the exterior. Now is the time to add it. I did not prep this. I'm just glad I remembered it. I was like, raise your hand if you've ever forgot to add your label. Both my hands would be up right now if they weren't busy. Okay, so if you wanted to, you could add your if you have a label kind of like this one, you could put it onto the inside of your bag. Well, you'd see it through. Yeah, you'd see it if I put it on the inside. Where? So I got the back here. Maybe up top, down low. Yeah, maybe down low. Oops, you guys can't see. I'm gonna zoom out for a second. And if you hear snoring, yes, that is my corgi. All right, do I want to have it down low? Do I want... Trying to put it in the middle would be really hard. No, I think I'm just gonna stick it down here. Do I want to do a dark one? Do I have any dark ones? Oh, I have a navy blue one. Oh, so I'll do navy blue. Little less obvious. Well, at least that one's ready to go for whatever project I use it for. Okay, well, it's not a perfect match for a navy blue, but it doesn't stick out quite as much as the other one. All right, let's try to fold this in half. Okay, there's some clips on it to help hold it. And then we could find our center. I'm like, where'd my snips go? So I'm just finding the center top and the center bottom. This will help with lining up the little pinchy things that I did on that one. But it'll also help me figure out where the heck to put this one. Okie dokie. Oh, but I have white thread in, so it's going to stick out. Okay, never mind. White it is. Or, oh gosh, why is this decision so difficult? Or do I want to just stick it in the inside? Yeah, you know what? I'm just going to stick it on the inside and I'm just going to go up top. Yep, that's what I'm going to do. All right, finally got my label on. So now what I want to do is match up my seam stitching here with the exterior notch that I made. And because my exterior is, or my interior is larger than my exterior, if I line up my bottoms all together, how close does my top get? Ooh, that's awfully close. So push some of it towards the bottom. Okay, that gives me a little more room around my label, so yay. All right, and then clip this in place. And then we're going to lengthen our stitch, and because the exterior is smaller, we're going to go exterior side up, so that way when we baste this on at 1/8 inch, we can actually see where our edge is. cruising around, I went in a little close, but it'll be hidden within the binding. So then I'm going to go around and trim off all of my excess lining. Okay, now my lining is all set. And then I thought I had one, like an actual woven label, because when I kept saying woven label instead of just label, I remembered, I'm like, I think I have Doctor Who woven labels. And sure enough, I do. So I got this at one of the So Magical events from the More Me Know booth. It's so cool. All right, now I just need to figure out where the heck I'm going to put it. Probably, I don't know, do I want to stick it on the inside? Oh, bigger on the inside, yeah. Because I can't really stick it on the outside of the bag. Yeah. Where do I want to put it? Because I don't think it would look as cute on the outside. Yeah, I think I'll just kind of tag it in over here. I'll just baste that in real quick. Alrighty, now the fun begins. Okay. And we can now find our centers of our gusset. So I'm going to line up our two, like our seams, come down. If it helps, throw on a clip, and then we're going to kind of pinch it down, and that will find our center bottom. Put a notch. Doesn't have to be very big. All the hardware meeting up, making it bulky. Throw a clip to help hold it. And then you can find the center of our tops. These are just really small snips. They're not anything big. So you can see my little notch. Normally when doing binding bags, I like to start with the front and do it, but because we need the battery to be able to be, the battery pack to be able to be into this pocket, and we have the inside of our exterior matching up with the exterior, so right sides together, and so we should see lining on the gusset and lining on this part. And we're just going to go around lining up these edges first. I'm going to go ahead and line up the tops. Throw a couple of clips there to help hold it, and then just work your way around lining up your edges. All right, we are all clipped together, and we will put the wire in after we already do this part around. I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see what I'm doing a little bit better. And then I'm lowering my stitch length because it was on basting. So making a little bit of room. And then I'm just going to go around at about 1/8, maybe a little bit bigger. I'm just basting this together. So you want to pick open a couple of the stitches. It doesn't have to be very big because you only need to fit this wire through it. So it really doesn't need to be a very big opening. Oh, where's my hemostats? Oops, sorry. Hemostats. This will make life a little bit easier, I hope. Or maybe if I go the other way. I think going this way will be a little bit easier. What is it? Work smarter, not harder. I don't know. I'm just struggling either way. Oh, I got it. Did I get it? Did I get it? Did I get it? No. Success. Okay, then we're going to pull through all of the wire. And then this the black part we want to leave inside the pocket. So there we go. And now we will grab our binding. A jelly. And then I'm going to leave its gap, I guess. Like right across there, or I don't know. We'll just start there. And then what you want to do is, because the circle side is the side that I can actually see when you go to stitch it in. So you want to push your excess to the gusset to the back side, because that's the side you can't see. And so that way you're ensuring that you are going to catch your binding on the other side. And if it's a little long, we can trim it. And so what you want to do is when you go around with your binding, you want to make sure that your EL wire is right on top. So see how it lays right in between the two? So we can have our exterior and our gusset. So you can see those two pieces coming together. You want to have your wire lay right on top of that. And then you just put your binding right over that. And you just go around and clip everything in place. All right, and as we get back to where we started, this is where it kind of like gets a little tricky. And I'm going to trim off there we go. So I got a little bit of excess. Can always do another binding one. Might have to use both pieces. Okie dokie. What the heck am I doing? Okay, so pushing that. So the wire that's on the pocket, I pushed it as far over as I can, laying this one over. And so then the wire will go across this and then go to the front. So then lay that down right there. Okay, we're down. All right, we're gonna start. Okay, I thought I just rolled over into my wire. That would have sucked, but I didn't, thankfully. So I'm gonna start towards the bottom, not exactly the bottom, but I'm gonna start towards the bottom because that way I get the most difficult part out of the way. Because this is the part that it gets a little tricky. And so you can't really quite go your traditional 1/4 inch necessarily, because then you're going to be, because the wire pushes your seam allowance and the binding out a little bit. So you actually need to go a 3/8 inch seam allowance, because you got to account for the wire that's in there. So we got to move this over to 3/8. So then it acts more like, so then it's truly more of a 1/4 inch. Whew, always a little like, get a little palpitations going when you do the first one. You're like, please don't hit the wire. Eek. Okay. All right, I can feel where, okay, I am getting very close to where the wire is on the inside. Okay, I don't want to go anymore. Okay, so needle up. I wanted to make sure, because you can see the, okay, clip, get out of the way. you can see right here, my jelly kind of popped out. So I want to kind of try to tuck that. And I'm also jumping over the wire from the inside of the bag. Come on, if I can get this jelly. Wiggle, wiggle. Okay, and whew. Okay, and I did do a back stitch on it because I did make that jump. Whew. Okay, now just stitch down the rest. Okay, one side's done. Ugh, that sticks out. We'll see how much that bugs me. It could probably be okay. But I am going to trim off the excess of the jelly. So to trim that off, I'm going to be using my applique duckbill scissors. Okay, so I just kind of I just trimmed everything off, and that trim looks really nice. And you want to double check. I kind of like to kind of half turn this. And I'm noticing on my bottom where the wire and everything, if I push it out, I can see where I basted it. And so I need to go back through and try my best to make sure that I get it stitched down properly in this area. So, because I don't want to have that sticking out. Okay, dokie. Let's try. Yeah, it is right where this is, where my jump is. Oh, did I sew through that? Oh snap, I think I did. Ruh-roh. Okay, I'm gonna check my wire before I get too far ahead, because I want to make sure that that still lights up. Okay, yeah, we still light up. I know it's hard to see it, but you can kind of see it under the desk. Yep, we light up. Whew, that's a relief. All right, now to figure out what the heck I'm doing over here. I really don't want to have to hand stitch this, but it might be what's the guts to do. Maybe if I trim that away. Maybe that might help things. I don't know. We're experimenting here. Okay, maybe if I pull everything as far as I can over to this way. Again, I'm just fishing into the pocket, making sure to pull my wire as far this way as I can. Okie dokie. this part is the trickiest part, is getting it to be able to jump across. If we weren't doing that, this would be a tad easier. Okay, and so now I'm having it pulled, everything pulled that way, and I'm going to go from this other direction and try getting as close as I can. I don't think I can go anymore. And then if you're not as close or as tight as you want it to be on the bottom, then I would suggest doing some hand stitching. I know it's our absolute least favorite thing to do, but at least you're guaranteeing that this gets closed up. Okay, now that that part's done, so I'm gonna probably do just a couple hand stitches before I turn it out. Okay, I think I should be okay. I'll just snip, once I turn it out, I'll just snip away those basting stitches. And now, the fun part. Well, I think it's the fun part. So this is the front. So being the top, sorry, this being the top. And so we're just going to kind of, if you want, yeah, let's just go ahead and do a small little pinch. Well, not really a pinch, but just something. Okay. Does this clock actually stay? Oh, it's not. Oh my gosh. I'm like, wait, there's no 12, really no 12 for me to, yeah, 10 and 12. Okay, so there's 12. Yeah, because 10, 11, 12. Okay, so here's 12. Okay, that's going to be the top. And then I'll just kind of throw a clip on the side just to kind of help hold it, and then work my way around. And if you don't want to snip it, adding in a little mark will do just as good, because once you get your marks lined up, then we're good. But just knowing where to put the marks is always very helpful. Okay, so I got my little mark right up there, and then I got my little mark down there. All right, and so since there is no lining or anything else that attached to this, this goes on all by itself. And then we're just going to find our top notch and our top mark, line those up, throw a couple clips on to help hold that in place, and then flip it around. We're going to find the bottom. Okay, we got our bottom mark, our bottom notch, which I literally only notched on the lining. Yeah, let's get some of these basting stitches out of the way. Yeah, I'll be digging out some of the blue ones later. Oh well. Okay, again, the mark with the notch. Okay, got those guys marked, lined up. Add some clippies. Whew, and just like we did on the back, we're going to then line up our edges. Okay, once you got your sides all clipped on, you really want to make sure that your wire is kind of tucked in out of the way. You don't want to accidentally sew over that while you're doing this last side. And just find a spot. If you open up your zippers, you can kind of squish that top side a little bit easier. And we're just going to kind of slide in, or try to anyway. And we're just going to sew around at 1/8 of an inch. Okay, we are almost there. We are going into the home stretch. All right, we're gonna grab our other piece of binding. So for the wire, it's just gonna go straight across here, and then make a 90-degree turn. I'm just gonna start with our binding on there, and then just like we did on the other side with the wire sitting on top, we're just gonna go around, clipping the binding and the light into place. All right, so now that we're back at where we started, what we want to do is, I know this is going to be scary, but it's okay. Making sure you are unplugged. So your battery pack should not be connected to your wire. You're going to cut your light wire. And then go to the end, and this little cap thing right here, you want to try to pop it off. So be careful. So we got this piece here, and we're going to slide it back onto the end of our piece of wire. So that just kind of protects the end of it and stuff like that. If you're not able to take this off, if you had a white piece of like heat shrink, you could put a tiny piece of heat shrink and then heat it around it to kind of shrink around it. If you had a small piece of electrical tape, you could use electrical tape for the end of it. Just make sure, like, you just want to make sure that you have something on the end of this. You just don't want to leave it by itself. I honestly don't know what really would happen if you did leave it alone. I don't know, but I've just kind of, I'm just guessing, because if it's on there to begin with, it should probably stay on there. That's kind of a good guess, right? Ow. Now my arm. Yeah, I'm gonna have a nice little red mark from smashing it onto my tabletop. Oh well. It's gonna be totally worth it when this bag is all finished, and it's gonna light up and look fantastic. All right, so this is what we look like. So this part is gonna be a little tricky because we just have to jump just where the wire comes over. So it's a little less tricky where we have to deal with two wires. This one we really only have to deal with just figuring out how to get across just this one. All right, so pick a spot, any spot, find a spot, whatever's gonna be easiest to get underneath. So probably somewhere from the top. Make a little gap for myself. And then maybe too big of a gap. And again, we're going to sew around this at a 3/8 inch seam allowance. Okay, I'm getting to the spot where my wire comes across. And so a lot of it is going to have to be done by feel. All right, so it's closer to the pink. Okay, here we go. Okay, if you stick your hand inside the bag, you can feel where the wire is. That will help you feel where the wire is. Ooh, I think I'm right there. I think I sewed over it. Ruh-roh. Hopefully it turns out okay. Oh, these things never want to stay. Oh well. Alright, and now I'm going to trim off my excess of the jelly vinyl. Okay, binding is finished. So here is what the bag looks like. So this is the back. I got my little woven label, my personal label. You can see the little tail of the battery pocket for the battery pack to go in this pocket. And then I still have one little pocket over here. Let's see if my phone will fit. Woohoo! It still fits my phone. And if you wanted to, you could actually push this lining or this pocket line slightly over, because the battery pack, yeah, it would, like, if you moved it over just a little bit, it would still fit, but it fits nicely with being in the center. And then here is the back side of the front. Ooh, I'm getting excited. Okay, here we go. So just take your time turning this out. And because this is a PVC, or just in general, you can take a hair dryer, and heat it up to be able to kind of soften it a little bit, and that will help with the birthing process. I just kind of give it a little squish. So just be careful on squishing too much. You don't want to hurt anything. Well, yourself and the bag, or the bag. Ugh. I don't want to hurt the bag. It's like, I gotta birth it. I'll just have to take the hair dryer to it later. Hopefully help get out some of the wrinkles. There. Come on. Oh. Okay. I don't feel like I've accomplished anything. It sounds like my knees and ankles when I wake up in the morning. All the creaking. Yeah, just need to pull out some of those little threads that are sticking out right there. But for the most part, you just kind of go around and work your edge. That will help. If you work your edge, it's going to help your bag look more circly instead of getting some wonky edges. And it's going to be a little bit stiffer because it also has the jelly, it's got the lights in it. So you're definitely going to want to work it. Holy smokes, there it is. Oh my gosh, it looks so good. Oh, it looks so good. Oh my gosh, I freaking love it. Yeah, good spot for as soon as you open it, like I can see my business label, you can see the woven label. Oh my gosh, this is gonna look so good. Okay, here we go. Let me stop drooling over it and actually turn it on. Plug in the battery, make sure I got the wire going in the right direction. Wait, do I have the wires going in the right? Yep. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Okay, let me go turn off the lights. If it wants to roll. Okay, let me go turn off the lights. I'm so excited. Oh my gosh. Okay. Machine off. Oh my gosh. It looks fantastic. Okay, let's push the wire back down in there so you can't see the battery pack. Let me turn it upside down. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, putting it upside down, then the excess wires will be pushed down the bottom. Oh my gosh, I'm zipping it up so we can get the full effect. Like even like the light, you can kind of see it through the top a little bit. Oh my gosh, it looks so good. I love it. This is freaking awesome. And now if you were a Doctor Who fan, you need this. Like, you so need this. This is so stinking cool. Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. Okay. Now to go turn the lights back on. Oh my gosh, it turned out so cool. Okay, now it's like, now we got a light on, we can actually put the whole thing together. So we got our Chicago screw. So this would be a really good option for Chicago, to put the Chicago screws, or even if you still put it inside here, you can still put the Chicago screw down below anyway. So we got our strap connector to our awesome webbing. And then we got our 2 zipper pulls. And then add on the other side. Oh my gosh, this is just so stinking awesome. This is so cool. I love it. Oh my gosh, I love this. It's so cool. Okay, and then in the next one, I'm going to do, so you'll see that one with gold hardware. So it won't have the Chicago screws, but it'll have the gold hardware here, gold zipper pulls. And then instead of doing the white jelly vinyl, I'm actually going to do the kind of gold yellow one with the white light. And so it's going to kind of hopefully give off that golden hue. So then it'll coordinate with the webbing, it'll coordinate with the zipper pulls and all the hardware. So I'm very excited to do part 2. So this is the ending of part 1. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you're going to be doing a domestic machine, part 2 is going to be done on my domestic machine. I am doing it on a Baby Lock Destiny 2. It's an embroidery / sewing unit or sewing combo machine. So if you're interested in how to do this on a domestic, that's going to be in part 2. Okay, here we go with part 2. I am doing this on my domestic. Fair warning, I haven't used my domestic to make a bag in over a year, so hopefully I don't hate myself by the end of this. But so my machine is the Baby Lock Destiny 2. It is a embroidery sewing combination unit. I am using like whatever this thread from Joann's is. So I don't know. I don't have the label thingy on it, but whatever this is from Joann's. I have the denim 9014 type needle in right now. Whether that is the right needle to use, I honestly don't know. It's what I had, and so it's what I'm gonna use. Yeah, I'm not perfect by any means when it comes to this. So, and then if you are newer to your like bag making journey, I already cut this in part 1. So if you're unsure or want to watch that part, just go over to part 1. You can watch me cut it out. And when you're ironing this, make sure because this is like a water resistant, waterproof canvas type material, you want to iron it from the right side. If you iron it from the back side, sometimes there's a coating on the back and it can get kind of meh. So you don't want to iron it from the wrong side. You want to iron it on the right side, which is the complete opposite when you're doing your exterior for your vinyl. So you always want to iron it from the back side. And so on my gusset, I have Decoville Heavy. The zipper gussets, I have Decoville Heavy as well. And then this time for my exterior back piece, I just put some Decoville Light on it. I'm hoping might be a little bit easier to birth with this being Decoville Light rather than the heavy, because on the first one I did heavy. And then double check your measurements that if your zipper gusset, so my lining is a little longer, and that's totally fine because the longer it is a-okay. Need my scissors. And just note, you do not need to pre-wash, like one, you're not supposed to pre-wash the water resistant canvas anyway, but if this was cotton, you don't need to pre-wash bag this. Like, unless you're planning on washing your finished bag, which you honestly shouldn't, especially because of the vinyl. Anyway, I don't, because it's going to, the fabric's going to shrink, and then your lining material can be smaller than what it's supposed to be, and then it won't work. Especially because everything's already pre-cut to the size it's supposed to be. And then minus the fact that if it's a little bit bigger, it's a-okay. If you're going to make a bag that wasn't like pre-cut like this and you made it all out of cotton, yeah, you can wash it, pre-wash it, and then if you wanted to wash it later, you can. Just be careful of like the hardware. I don't know what it would do to the hardware. I don't know what it would do to the inside of your washing machine. So I've never personally washed a bag. If I get any dirty spots, I just hand spot clean them. What you can use, like there's like the little magic pen thingy, and then there's like the Mr. Clean magic eraser. I don't know, there's a few things you can try. Yeah, I'm definitely not super cleany. I don't know, I'm not very good at cleaning. All right, for the lining, if the lining is bigger, which my lining is, that's totally fine because we can trim this down once we get this piece, the second piece, folded in half, top stitched and sewn down for the pocket. We can baste this on from this side and then just trim off the excess. That part is totally fine. So then we have our lining, we have our slip pocket piece, which is the same as our other lining, so it really doesn't matter which one goes for which. we have this beautiful coordinating webbing. So pretty. And I already have mine cut down to size. Mine, I'm doing 54 inches on this one. Maybe I should probably cut that to more of a straight edge. I like personally for my crossbody straps to be anywhere between 52 and 54. If you are on the smaller side, you could probably go a little smaller. If you're on the bigger side, you could probably go a little bigger. The strap length is 100% pure preference. There is no designated, oh, you must make this size. Like, no. Go with what works for you guys. I'm on the taller side, and I'm not the tiniest of persons, so I like 54. It's a nice length for me. And then, so those are already melted, and then, oh, so I already saw what it's gonna look like in part 1, but for this one, oh, I need to grab the jelly lights. I totally forgot to grab those. But, so we have white white EL wire lights for the inside. I don't know why I called them jelly lights, but the lights. And then we have our strap connector, the little connector pieces. But the first one I did white jelly. This one I'm gonna do yellow because I wanted to pull out the yellow from within this, and then plus our hardware is gold. Nope, can't really see it. Let me push it into the picture. There you go. So we got some gold, really pretty gold hardware. There is no, I didn't get Chicago screws for this one, but we have 2 zipper pulls, nice and pretty. Our swivel clasps, slide adjusters, and all of this hardware came from K&A, so it's nice if you're worried about the whole 50 shades of gold kind of thing. You can get the hardware from them, and then everything's going to coordinate. And then we have our strap connectors. Nice and pretty. Super shiny. And then just like the first one I did a light blue zipper tape. And so I just happen to have light blue with gold. So it's like, yay. So I'm going to be using this zipper tape. And then I also have my label. And then if you wanted to, oh, I think I'm going to add that woven label again. Yes, I need to get, I'm so not completely organized and ready to go yet. Okay, so I'm gonna go get my lights, the batteries, do a test check, get the woven label. Okay, and then we can get going. Okay, when you get your, like I did in part 1, I showed you guys this one, the light, and doing a double check test, but I'll do it again for this one. So throw in some AA batteries and just double check that you make sure that you have the holes and your prongs, that you're lining them up correctly. Because if you put them in the wrong direction, you could bend the prongs and then it won't work. And then just double check that your light actually works. And my light does work. Looks good. Cool. And then at this point, you can keep it disconnected and just set your battery pack aside, because unless you accidentally nick it with your needle, you won't really need to have this until the very end when we actually turn it on completely at the very end. But so like I did it in part 1 where I nicked the wire with the needle, and so I double checked it to make sure that it still worked, which it did. But you want to be careful when you make this bag and you're using this. You definitely don't want to accidentally sew through it. If you sew through it accidentally, it's an accident. You're sewing. Yeah. Anyway, I'm rambling, but I don't know what it would do if you hit the wire at like the right spot. It could potentially kill the wire. You could break something on the inside. And so it's easier to just say, don't sew through it, because if you do, you could kill it. And so definitely don't want that to happen. All right, so we can set that aside. We don't need that for a little bit. All right, where are we starting? Okay, I have so I'm gonna start a little different than I did on my first one. I'm going to start by putting my woven label on, because I switched my color thread and I was going to use a blue one, and then I was on white thread anyway. Yeah, so I didn't feel like switching it back to blue to be able to do that one, but I had a white one. So that one worked out. So I'm going to put my label on now. Oh no, wait, I put my label on the inside of the bag the first time. That's what it was. I was going to do it on the back, and then it was just going to stand out too much, and then I ended up putting it on the inside. Sorry, I'm totally rambling. But, so for this one, I'm going to actually add it to the back of the bag next to our DW. Oh, I don't think I had, nope, I don't think I cut this very straight or notched it. So I want my the DW to be upright. Okay, that looks good. I think my last one was a little more crooked. Oh yeah, way crooked. So I'm going to make a little mark on the back of this, so that way I know I know which little notch I'm actually working with. Oh wait, nope, it's this one. Did I do this one here? Okay, it's this one. There we go. Hopefully I don't mess that up later. Okay, that looks much better. So I'm just kind of centering my little label, and then I'm gonna go ahead and sew this on first. Right. So I don't really tie it off as like I do on the industrial one. The threads kind of melt ish. Nope, they burned. Whew, smoky. Okay, because some of the ones that you can get for your domestic machine can melt like the industrial, but then some of them will just burn. So that's not always going to be. So these ones that I'm using apparently just burns. So, oh well. All right, so I'm finding my center of these guys. My little strap pieces. I'm terms and words just are evading me. So if you wanted to, you could put a piece of double-sided stick tape right down the middle and then fold your edges inward, and that would hold them. If you don't want to, you don't have to. So I just press my edges to my center line, and then I'm going to stitch this down at 1/8 of an inch. And then I'll just chain stitch these and add my next one. If you're worried about for your machine to handle all of the layers of vinyl, so you have your zipper gusset, your gusset, the lining pieces, and this, if you're going to put it into the seam of the where the zipper gusset and the gusset come together, then do this out of cotton woven or out of water resistant canvas or something like that, to where it's going to help reduce your bulk. Or if you want to do my first video where I attached it just below where you could normally attach it inside the gusset seam, then there's that option as well. All right, so there's those pieces. I'm not going to forget this time. I did that in the first video. Completely was just kind of going off on my own and just totally spaced. So I'm hoping if I have these done now, I won't forget. I'm going to set those down, and then I'm going to make my crossbody strap real quick. I like to do that towards the beginning, so that way because sometimes by the time you get to the end of the bag, you're just like, oh, I'm done. And then it's like, oh no, I have a crossbody strap to make. And you're just like, ugh, I don't want to do it. Especially if you're like having to do the like fold it and actually like top stitch it and do all that stuff. Using webbing is a lot easier and faster, but depends on the bag, depends on what I use. Because sometimes webbing looks good and sometimes webbing kind of doesn't quite look as good. Personal preference on that one. All right, so all I did was, I'm just rambling and totally didn't even explain it. So I have my slide adjuster. I'm gonna go up one side of the bar and then down on the other side of the bar. And so if you wanted to, depending on how long you cut this, you can sew a box here and then do like a little X in it if you wanted to. You could sew like a few different lines if you wanted to. Personal preference on how you want to do this part. I am just going to sew back and forth on this, on the edge. So, and then I'm going to, with the raw edge sticking up, I'm going to slide my hand all the way down to the other end just to make sure that I don't have any twists in it. And then I'm going to add my swivel clasp. So this is going to be pointed downward. And I'm going to slide the webbing through. And then when I bring the two pieces back up together, I should have a loop here and no twists. So with this piece that's sewn together in the middle by itself, I'm going to go up one side and then go over the middle piece and then down the other. So it should look like this. Okay. And then you just go ahead and pull some slack. And then with this piece, I'm going to follow my hand through to the end. I'm going to grab my other swivel clasp, and with this one pointed up, I'm going to go in and then fold back on itself. And so if I were to hold this piece, and then if I extend it down to my slide adjuster and all the way down to the other swivel clasp, I should have no twists in there. And then whatever you did to sew down this part over here, you'll do the same for here. Okay, now my crossbody strap is all finished and I can set this aside. Okay, and so now I'm going to move on to my zipper. I got this piece, and so I personally like to have my zipper just a little bit longer than my zipper gussets. So I'm just going to cut a little bit off of each side just to straighten up the edges. And if you hear snoring, oops. And if you hear snoring, yes, that's my corgi. We jokingly say that she has dog apnea, or sleep dog apnea. She snores so loud. Okay, so then we have the right side of our zipper, the wrong side of our zipper, the right side of our exterior, the wrong side of our exterior, the right side of our lining, which is the light blue, and then the wrong side, which is the white side. Okay, so with the right side of the zipper to the right side of your exterior, you're going to line up your edges and then clip those down. And then we're going to baste this together at a 1/8 inch allowance. So we need to sew this together at a 3/8 inch seam allowance. So that's going to be a little tricky depending on the foot that you have on your machine. I'm going to grab my lining piece with the right side facing down. So right side of the lining to the back, to the wrong side of the zipper, but it will be also to the right side of my exterior. So we're making that into a little sandwich. And then clip those together, lining up your edge here. So we're going to go at a 3/8 inch seam allowance. So this part of the foot right here is going to go right on top of my zipper. So it's going to be a little tricky, but if you do it with the back side towards a little bit, so where your zipper is flat, it'll be a little bit easier, because if you do it from the front side and the zipper stands above the rest of the zipper, so your zipper teeth stick out above the rest of the zipper tape, it's a little bit harder to balance on, where if it's flat almost on the back, it's a little bit easier. So we're going to try that at a, we're going to do that at a 3/8 inch seam allowance. I say try because let's see if I can do it. Whew, okay, success. Kind of went a little, right there at the end. That was pretty darn good. I'm definitely feeling rusty on my using my domestic machine for bag making. Okay, so what I did is I went down and I pinched, so they were like this. I just took them and then I'm putting wrong sides together, and then I'm trying to get them to line up on this other side here. And so I'm just pinching right along here where I was my seam allowance before. You don't want to over tug on your zipper because then that can cause your zipper to get wavy. So that's why I'm just pinching. And then if you want to, once you get it kind of pinched and things lined up, you can do a finger press and just slide your fingers. If you have a rolly tool, you can use a rolly tool to press this. Okay, there we go. And then we are going to top stitch this at 1/8 of an inch. And so I'm going to, so at 1/8 of an inch, my foot just slides right next to my zipper. Oh, and also another tip, if you need to do any adjustments or anything like that, take your foot off the pedal, because I personally have been there where I'm doing adjustments and I'm not realizing what my foot's doing. My foot presses and it just sews and then I get a crooked line. So if you do any adjustments, make sure you take your foot off your pedal. Okay, that turned out pretty darn good. All right, now just to repeat it a second time. So on this one, I'm going to then take my exterior and lay them right sides together. So right on top, lining up these lines with my zipper tape and my edge. And then you also want to double check that you are lining up the edge of the side that we already just sewn on. You want to line up those edges together right there. Okay, and again, so that at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So that's probably a little less than the actual 1/8 inch because I have my Decaville and it's like my foot ran right along that edge. But the point is that you're just basting these on, and so I would say that is pretty basted. And then flip it over to where our lining is up, and we're going to lay our other lining piece right side down. And again, just like we did with the other one, the front or the other exterior piece, there we go. We're lining up our end and lining up our edge. And then we're going to sew this at a 3/8 inch seam allowance. And just make sure, take your time. And then we have it like this, like our little sandwich. And then we're just going to fold the wrong side of our lining and the wrong side of our exterior, and we're going to push those together. And then I'm just pinching the seam allowance where I had sewn. Okay. And then you're going to top stitch this side at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so now we're going to make sure that we add our zippers, because nothing's worse than continuing on and forgetting to add your zippers. Raise your hand if you've done that one. Done it a few times. So if you have a zipper jig, go ahead and use that. If not, go ahead and follow along. So I take note of what my zipper teeth look like before I split them apart. So I'll be doing this from both sides, so I notice that they're really even. I'm gonna get extra little fuzzies out. If this vinyl was a directional print, then it would depending if you're doing a single zipper, how you put it on, it depends on how you open it, it gets opened. But because it's not, we don't have to worry about it. And we're doing double, at least I'm doing double pulls, so it really doesn't matter which direction I put this on. So now that I've taken note of what these look like, I split them apart, grab my zipper pull. I start by inserting one side first at a time. So I only put the zipper on just a little bit. Then I kind of bend them apart to get to the other side to slide that in. And then I want to look through the back. And then as I push my zipper down and my teeth up, how it looks when it comes out the back. As long as it looks the same as what it was before I split them apart, then I will have a beautiful zipper on every single time. And then on this one, I'll show you if one side goes like in more than the other, I'll show you what that looks like. So we see that here. Split them apart as I drop it. And then one side at a time. So I push through. I'm going to make sure, I'm going to purposely push one side in higher than the other one. There we go. So one side is definitely higher than the other one. And so when I pull that on, you can see kind of how it bulges to one side. So it pushes this side over more. Then it's not going to turn out to be as pretty. And it's a little less noticeable with two, because once you push them together, you don't notice it as much. But if it was a single pull, it would be a little more noticeable. And so I just need to get everything lined up. And as I push the zipper down and the teeth up, they look even. And then when I pull it on, it looks nice and pretty. And I can pull those together. Voila. Beautiful. Okay, so that part is now finished. We can move on to adding our bottom gusset. Hold on, I almost did it again. I almost forgot to add this part. So if you're unsure, which I am currently unsure if my machine will do it, but I will give it a try. So we're going to add our strap connectors in. So I'm going to have some slack that sticks off. Let's see how much I have. I have an inch, 1 inch sticking out. And then I'm just going to sew kind of like 1/8 of an inch just right along the edge. Or actually, I want more than, because the seam allowance is 1/2 inch. Nope, it's good. So to help hold in place, I'm going to throw a clip on it. And I'm just going to baste this on. Oh boy. That part always made me really nervous when making my bags, because I would have sometimes where it would just hit and just my machine hated it. And so especially like when they fold it over and they say, oh hey, top stitch here, I would never top stitch, but just because it was so much bulk in my machine. I tried it, my machine hated it, and then I'd end up getting my needle marks through it, and so it's just like, nope. So I'm I'm sewing this as I'm holding my breath. And then just make sure I have my inch, which I do. And then you also want to make sure that your strap connector is spaced evenly along your zipper. And that will help hold it, and then just baste that down. now what I'm going to do is add my gusset to my zipper gusset and then line up my edges here. And throw a clip on to help hold it in place. And I'm going to sew this together at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Then on the other side, you're going to grab your gusset lining piece and you're going to go right sides together with your other, or right sides together with a lining. And then line it up across the top. And then you want to make sure that you're lining it up on the sides with your gusset, the exterior gusset. And we're going to sew across this at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. There's 3/8, there's 1/2 inch. Ugh, my thread broke. Okay, my thread broke. Now to fish it out. I might have to sew it down on my... I'm going to try one more time, and if I can't get it, then I'm going to undo it, and then I'm going to put it onto the gusset. Oh, I'm going to thread it. Because I don't want to fight with this. Yep. Yep, it hit the zipper in the wrong spot. So, okay. So I will be doing that on the side. Again, if you wanted to, instead of using the vinyl, if I used a cotton woven or the water-resistant canvas. That would help with the bulk. So I'm probably going to have marks, hopefully not, from where I stitched it. So I have my strap connector, I'm folding the one piece over, and I'm meeting up the edges. So that doesn't look too bad. Okay. So I have a clip down, and so I have that one. And now I will do this one. Okay, so I'm going to find the middle of my gusset. And then 1 inch down, and then I'm lining up my 1 inch with the edge of my gusset, and then the 1/2 inch with my notch that I cut for the center. And if you wanted to put a piece of double-sided stick tape on the back of this to be able to lay it down, you totally could. And then I'm just lining up my strap connector piece with the base of my ruler. So I'm going to this part, the little top part of that. And then I can set my ruler aside. And I am just going to hold this for all that I can. Slide this underneath and then stitch around. And then I'm following on the sides, I'm following my stitching that I had previously from when I sewed it in half. And then also if you hold your end tail, it will help too. And so it doesn't, if you're noticing that you get a bunch of like a rat's nest on the back side, or if it bunches up and you're having issues with your thread, hold your tail down like you would on your industrial machine, so that will help keep it from kind of knotting up in the back. Okay, well that was a lot easier, way less stressful. I wasn't quite holding my breath as hard. All right, now just to repeat it and do it on the other side. Okay, well let's try the gussets again. So I'm going to then line up my edges here. I'm going to start at a 1/4 inch. And then I'm going to take my lining, right sides together, lining up the top and over here on the sides as well. And again, go and sew this down at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Okay. And then repeat the same steps on the other side. Okay, once you have your gusset all sewn together, I'm gonna flip out edges and squeeze the seam allowance together. And I like to put a clip on these. Just kind of help hold them flat. If you wanted to, you can, oh, I just broke. If you wanted to, you can top stitch this. You can do it at an 1/8 of an inch, a 1/4 inch. It's your preference. I don't always do it, especially on my domestics. I personally tend to not do it just because I had a hard enough time trying to get that in here. So I'm just like, I don't want to mess with it. But personal preference, your choice. If you wanted to, you could you could put a rivet right here. You could put a rivet or the Chicago screw right in here. I did the Chicago screw in here on the first video. So if you want to watch how that part is done, go ahead and watch that part in the first video. So your choice if you want to do rivet, Chicago screw here or here, your preference. So I am going to, sometimes the material works better in certain directions. So when the lining was out, I had like a weird bubble from the exterior, but now that I flipped it, it likes being this direction. So I can clip the lining and the exterior together and they fit nicely. And the next part I'm going to do is I'm going to actually lengthen my stitch length, and I will baste around this side of the circle at a 1/8 of an inch, and then I will flip and I will baste this side together. So it's just sewing the lining and the exterior together, because then when you add them to your actual exterior pieces and you're gonna do the binding, it just makes having these be together so much easier to work with. So stitch length of 5 is the longest I can go without jumping up to an actual basting stitch, which I'm going to jump to a basting stitch, and my stitch length is at a 10. It's either 5 or 10, so I'm going to go to a 10. And then the nice part about a domestic is I have this opening because I took this part off, so I can just slide that right in there. And then if your gusset parts right here stick out a little bit, you're welcome to kind of, and if your lining sticks out, you're welcome to trim off that excess. And then I like to trim it to where my zipper gusset and my gusset, it's more of a streamline. Even if it goes kind of tilt inward a little bit, I like, it just makes it easier for me, but that's just my personal preference for myself. Okay, now I'm going to swap out to the white thread because I'm going to be sewing on our lining pieces, and then it's going to be, at that point, basting and binding. All right, I've got my, oh, not threaded yet, but. So I got my white thread in. If you have a thread that will match this light blue, you can totally use that. Or if you don't, white will work. So then we're just gonna fold one of the circle pieces in half. And we're going to top stitch this at 1/8 of an inch. And we're gonna take it over. Let's find this one. I'm not really gonna squeeze it too hard, but I will make a little snip at the top and the bottom. I'm gonna fold this one in half, lining up the top and the edges over here. Make a little snip. If you wanted to, having a little bit of a crease, I'm just lightly pinching it, will give you a rough center line. You can kind of see it. That will eventually kind of relax and fade. Or once you get this basted on and you're just like, I don't like that, you can always just go over and give it a quick little press and it will take that crease right out. So then we're going to baste our pocket onto our lining piece. Then we're going to follow that kind of like that little bit of a crease from the bottom. We're going to come up into the middle, and we're going to, that's going to give us our two different pockets. Okay, we're going to grab our exterior piece. We're going to lay it on top of our lining. And so because I already have notches and notches, I can already kind of gauge where they need to line up. And if I want to make sure that I'm using the right notches, I can always just flip and make sure that I'm looking at the ones with the marks. So I think yeah. Because the lining is larger, I just want to make sure don't have any like weird bubbles or like excess fabric is just like hanging out. And so I'm going to go around and I'm going to baste my lining and my exterior piece together. I'm going to lengthen my stitch out and just go around and baste this together. Then at this point, once you get it basted together, you can go ahead and trim off your excess of your lining. Okay, we got our excess trimmed off. This part is ready to go. And so now we're getting to the point where we are going to start basting this together. I normally, for bags, I like to start with my front because that's the part you're going to see and you want it to look the nicest. So that's normally where I begin. But because we need to start with the back, because that's where our battery pack is going to be. And it's going to slide into the pocket that we just made in here. So it's going to go on one of the other sides. You get to pick. Sorry, I'm not trimming my little threads. So you can pick which side you want. It doesn't matter which side pocket you put it in on. So we're going to have to start with the back, and we're going to, oh geez, I'm normally really good at snipping these with my industrial, but I am totally skipping these on this one. Dang. All right, so I need to flip this one to where the exterior is to the inside and my lining is facing outward. And then I didn't do this yet. So I'm going to line up my gussets where they came, the seams there. I throw a clip on just to help hold it. Come down and then find your center. Do the same thing for the other side. I'm going to add another clip just because it's easier. Come down. A little snippy. And then you do it for the same thing for the top. And these don't have to be giant snips. All right, and then because this exterior is a non-directional, it doesn't really matter. So I'm gonna go ahead and just start. So we're gonna line up our top notches together. Throw a couple clips on the top. And then go turn it around, and then you're gonna find the bottom. Clip that, and then just work the curve around, and you're clipping as you're going. Okay, once you got it all clipped on, you're going to go ahead and baste this together at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Sorry, not 1/4 inch. You're going to start at an 1/8. I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. All right, so at this point, you just kind of find an opening, or however you're going to want to get in. Let's see how this will work. Okey-dokey. Okay, once you get that all stitched down, you want to make sure that to help yourself when doing your binding, that any of the pieces that kind of stick up, you want to trim those down. So just take your time, go around, trim anything that sticks up a little bit. Now comes the time for the light wire and the binding. Well, first we need to get our wire to start inside the pocket. So okay, if you're worried about your, I didn't think about this until this one. For this, if you're worried about getting this stitching down and getting over everything, you could put in before, I know I should have prefaced this beforehand, I didn't think about it till now, is if you put in a small 1/8 inch grommet or a 1/4 inch, like a 1/4 inch grommet, something small in this prior to sewing it down, then you can take the end of your wire, stick it through, pull it through that, and that way you can make sure that you get this seam, because right now what we have to do is go through the bottom part of this. So let me see if I have I'm gonna do a little redoing here real quick. Okay, we're gonna do this together. So if I screw this up, at least you guys can see that. So I'm gonna take out my stitching just a little bit, not a ton of them. At least I hope not. Okay, so there's that. Just gonna double check before I actually punch a hole in this that the wire will fit through. Okay, if I take the cap off, which you would need to take the cap off anyway, so make sure when you take the cap off, which was the end of your wire, save this piece. You're gonna need it for the end. So yes, my wire will fit through. Okay, we're gonna try this. So we're going to punch a hole, not right on the edge, a little up and towards the middle. Okie dokie. So there's my hole. Gonna add, so this is my little eyelet thing. You can get these at like Joann's, Hobby Lobby. I think Michael's has them. Actually, I don't know if Michael's does or not, but Walmart has them. And then you grab your little plier tool. So the part that has the little bevel part is the part that goes to the back, and then the flat part is the part that sticks to the front. So you line that up like so, line it up, line up your front, make sure it sits in there right. And then when you go to the back, it goes in and you give a little squeeze. You don't want to over squeeze because then you can see how it kind of starts to warp it a little bit, just a tiny bit. If you over squeeze, it will like bend the snot out of it. Okay, so that's in. That might get in the way. Oh gosh. I hope it doesn't get in the way of my foot. I should have thought about that. I didn't think about that. Okay. Well, like I said, we're doing this together. Haven't tried this one. I'm fingers crossed that it works. So we're going to do this part again. Cool. My foot slid right over the top of it. All right. I'm hoping this works. I really hope that this works, because this would make life a lot easier for everybody. I hope. Hoping is the key thing. So now I need to actually swap over to yellow thread because I'm going to be using yellow jelly. And I don't want my white thread, I don't want it to necessarily be like super obvious. So I'm hoping it will all blend in. I hope. I'm all fingers crossed over here that it works. And so this is the thread that I'm using for the yellow. I think I got it at, again, probably more than likely Joann's. I have drawers full of thread. All right, we are threaded. And that would be my two youngest corgis. About housing. Okay, so we need to stick the wire through our pocket and out the eyelet or grommet, whatever you decided to use. In the first video, I ended up using like my little, what are those little long, I don't really know. I'm not wording very well right now. Forceps, there we go, words. I use those to help myself with this. So I'm just gonna have to struggle with it. I almost had it. Come on. Maybe the forceps might be a good idea. It's like it wants to come out. Come on. You're right there. Gosh darn you. Okay, maybe let's try bending it. Put a little bend on the end. Give it a pinch. Okay, so it's got an angle. All right, let's hope this works. Yes! Haha, success! Success, success! Okay, so I'm liking this plan so far. I'm actually quite liking. I'm just hoping, fingers crossed, that it actually works out. We're still figuring that part out. All right, so I am, like I said, I am going to be using my Lilo. I just think it would look really, I just want to see what it would look like with yellow and with the gold hardware and the strap with the gold in it. I'm just like, okay, cool. I'm wondering, can I do, okay, so what I'm going to do first, so it's a little unorthodox, but I want to make sure that I get stitching down there first. So I'm going to sew that at my 1/4 inch seam allowance. Oh my gosh. This is okay. This is going to be fun. Okay. So, oh gosh. Oh goodness. Oh, snap. Okay. So, yep, we're going to make this. We're going to make this work. I'm going to have to finagle, but we're going to do it. Okay. So I'm going to sew this little strip first. I'm like, fingers crossed, please work. Okay, so now when I add this piece down and I jump over that right here, it's already stitched there. Oh, okay, I'm really liking this. Okay, I'm onto something here. We're using brain power. Kind of. I'm running on tea. Or caffeine. Tea? Yeah. Caffeine's still in tea. Anyway, yeah. Right. Okay, so now what we want to do is lay the EL wire right on top, so that seam where the circle part and then the gusset part come together, that little like flat spot-ish, you want to lay your wire right on top of that. And then you're going to put your jelly, or if you're using clear, whatever you're using for your binding, you want to lay that right over the top, and then you want to push your excess to the gusset side, because this is the side that we're going to be able to see. And so this is where we know that, okay, we're within our seam allowance, if we're catching it. You want to put the excess to the back, so that way if you do get a little close on this side, you know you're still going to catch it on that side because that side's longer. I just have that personal preference for myself, because there's been many times that I have not caught my binding on the back, and it is incredibly frustrating. So go around and do our favorite thing, clipping. We're just gonna clip all this stuff together. Okay, and now we're back to the beginning. So what we want to do is trim our jelly or our binding. And I could do that for something else. And then such my hoarding pile gets even larger. Okay, so I'm going to just leave that sitting up like this. I'm not going to try to turn it just yet because that will help us when we do sew the binding down. Oh, golly gee whizzard. What is it? Golly gee willikers? Who says that? Golly gee willikers. I recognize it. I don't remember where it's from. Alright, so that's going to just sit like that for the moment. Okay, and so because of the light being on top of that, it's pushing our binding further out. So if you were to do a 1/4 inch seam allowance on this, it wouldn't really actually be a 1/4 inch. You would be flirting more with like an 1/8 inch. And so you could potentially, if you did a larger basting stitch when you first sewed this together, you could potentially see it when you birth your bag out. So just to make sure, you want to do 3/8 inch. I know it's going to be a pain, and I'm not looking forward to that part right there, but we can do it. This is why I'm doing this on the domestic, because I want to make sure that everybody can do it. Okay, I'm going to start on this side instead of this side because I want to get to that. Not really. I really don't. Okay. All right, let's just weasel this thing in there. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Yeah. Okay, 3/8. Okay, we can do this. Please don't piss off my machine. Okay, I'm getting back to the part where my wire from my little hole is coming out and where the grommet is. So, oh gosh. Okay, so where's... Okay, I need to see... I can't see. So I'm just going to try to get as close as I can to where the wire... Okay, I think that's going to be it. Okay. Needle up. Oh, golly. I don't know what I'm doing. Yes, I do. No, I don't. Oy. You know what? I'm just going to, instead of trying to fight it, I'm just going to cut the thread there. Try to make life a little bit easier. Oh golly, I hope this works. I'm like trying to fish it through. I was like, nope, I'm not even. My brain is somewhere else. Okay, so I had a little bit of excess on the inside here, which is a good thing, because then I can now push that wire up and push it all the way up against where I ended. And then try to keep that wire, this one that's going to go to the front, try to keep it on top so I actually don't sew over that. Let's see if we can, I can do this, I can do this. Okay, all right. I don't know if you guys saw that, all me fiddling with that. See, this is kind of why I'm glad I stitched that part down to start with, because then if I miss it, okay, I think there, I'll start there, but at least it's sewn there. Fine, put my foot down. Jeez. Okay. Okay, past the scary part. Okay. And just keep going. You really want to make sure that your binding's not sliding out, because it's going to want to fight you. So you really got to keep some pressure down on it, because if it pushes away, it's deceiving, because if it pushes out, then you think, okay, I'm doing my 3/8, but in reality you're doing less than the 3/8. So then potentially you could see your basting stitches, and it could cut, like, you just may not be able to get everything. So you really want to make sure that you are holding your binding in place. Whew, made it. Yes. Is it the most amazingly beautiful thing in the entire world? Absolutely not. So you don't have to do this part. I like to do this part just because for me, and it helps it make it, clean it up, look nicer. So I'm using some applique scissors, but you can use whatever scissors you have. And I'm just going to go around and I'm going to do my best to trim up the excess on both sides. Okay, now we're going to line up the front. And then I'm going to first find my center. So I got my 12 here. So I want to keep that up at the top. And I don't want to pinch or crease the clear vinyl. So just add a couple of those. I'm going to add a tiny snip. If you have one of those like marking pins, you could use a marking pin too. Mine is somewhere else at the moment. Okay, just enough to where you know where you got the baby one. And again, those are my littlest corgis, roughhousing. So you're going to take your top mark and line it up at the top. And you're going to do the same thing, line them up at the bottom. I'm like, where is it? There it is. And then at that point, just start lining all the edges all the way around. Okay, this part is going to be easier if you open up your zippers. And then you can start on the top, because then it kind of gives you a little bit more play to be able to kind of stuff it in underneath. And then we're just going to go around basting at 1/8 of an inch. Oh gosh, this is... All right. Come on. Squeeze in there. Jeez. Okay. We're in. Okay, we're in the final stages. And this is probably going to be might be a little difficult. All right, we're going to grab our wire from the other side, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did on the back. That I'm going to do it on the front, and I'm going to kind of pre-stitch where the wire is going to come into. So in this little area on the bottom, it's gonna be a pain to get it in there, but I'm gonna pre-stitch this so that way if I skip it and I miss it, then it's at least already stitched. I really like that option, or that plan. So for that one, I did it just a little bit shy of the 3/8 inch. So if I go back through and I do the actual 3/8 inch, then I'll be totally fine. So at least that part is stitched. So I don't have to worry about missing it, which I like that part. And then we're just going to do the same thing that we did to the other side. We're going to, and I'm going to have it overlap further over here and see if that helps at all. I don't know. I'm trying something. I'm just trying a whole bunch of stuff on this one. Crossing my fingers that it works. So I'm getting back to the beginning of where I started, and so I need to trim the jelly first. So those meet up. But I need to continue this line till it meets. So I can feel it. It is right here. So this is where I'm going to need to trim. I'm going to trim a little bit shorter than that because I have the cap. Not bad. That's all we got left. Pretty good. I've had some where I have a lot of line getting thrown away. All right, so then that little piece of cap that we had that we took off before, we're going to put that back on. And if you can't get the cap off, or you can't save it for some reason, if you use like heat shrink or electrical tape or something, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this on. Something along those lines. Like, you don't want to just use masking tape, or I'm going to get some actual scissors. Let's be smart. Okay. But so yeah, electrical tape, heat shrink, something that you can put on wiring itself, because it's my theory is, like, I don't honestly know if the cap is 100% necessary, but if there's a cap when it came on it, then the cap should probably stay there. And I am having a heck of a time getting this cap to go back on. Why are you being so difficult? Okay, looks like I'm gonna have to go rooting through my husband's stuff. So thankfully he still has some of this stuff up here. And here is some heat shrink. Oh gosh, is this gonna be too small? Come on, yellow, I want the yellow. Oh, come on. Do I have something I can stretch this out with? Maybe just enough. Come on. Awesome. Yes. Cool. Cool. So I got just a little bit of the heat shrink on it. Okay, perfect. And then I'm gonna cut. Perfect. I might have to steal this from him. Maybe. We'll see. And then you just take a lighter and then see how it starts to, it's already starting to close up around it. So my own little modified cap. It works. But I just wanted to make sure wasn't gonna just leave it completely raw and open. And then I have my wire that's coming across. I'm gonna set the new wire underneath. add some clips. Okay, here we go. Oh gosh. Okay, come on. Okay, so I'm hoping that it works out a little bit better because I don't have the seam of the jelly meeting right exactly at the same point that the wire's coming in. So I'm hoping that that meet up part will want to cooperate a little bit better this time. Okay, so now we're in the final stages. Just find somewhere to try to cram the bag underneath. Ugh, my bag's getting squished, but it's okay. Oh, okay, here we go. Okay, I'm getting closer to the wire. Whew, here we go. Getting scary. Okay, where is it at? Okay, where are we? Okay, I have my hand inside the bag right now, and I can feel with my finger, so my finger's right here, and I can feel the wire, and I'm just kind of gauging where, oh, I think I can, I'm there. So lift, I'm pulling. Pushing. Oops, I think I pushed too far. Okay, and okay, I'm over the wire. Okay, I'm over. And now I can go back down. Okay, cool. Whew, okay, binding is on. Trim all this. All right, now I'm going to go around, trim off my excess jelly. Start down here. Okay, so be careful with, I can see those were my pre-stitches that I did for the jump area, and there is a big jump stitch right here. And so I might have to go back in and at least kind of taper this part, so that way I don't just have stitches here and then stitches here. So when you do this little pre-stitch, if you do it at a 1/4 inch. So just in case, because the binding, because it does push you out, it may not end up being what you think you may not end up stitching what you think you're stitching. Because I was supposed to be stitching at 3/8, and clearly that's not, like, it pushed me out enough that it should not turn out to be 3/8. All right, I'm gonna go trim the other side first, and then I will go do that stitching. Okay, so I see a little wonky thing right there. I'm gonna fix that too. Okay, now to do that. I'm hoping, let's try with this side up. It's a little bit, it's still a little tricky, but I'm gonna work with it. That way I can actually see my wire this way. But the downside is I've run into potentials for more puckers. Through my fingers on the inside of my hand on the inside of the bag. And so I'm going to meet up. Okay, So I met my stitching there. So actually I don't have to sew over my wire. So I sewed to it, and now I'm going to sew from it outward to get it to where they line up, and I don't have a funky weird stitch thing going on. Okay, now is the time. We get to birth this. So I'm hoping, because I used Decoville Light on the back, that it's going to be a little bit easier, but we shall see. Again, if you want to take your hairdryer, you can heat up the clear vinyl and it will help kind of like soften it a little bit, so it'll make it a little bit easier to turn if you want to do that. If not, you can just use pure strength and determination to get this thing to birth. And so far, it is a little bit easier to birth it. If you want to watch me struggle, go watch part 1. This one definitely birthed a lot faster, having the back stabilizer be Decoville Light instead of the heavy. Now just come on. I hope I didn't speak too soon about it being faster. But no, really, it is faster. I got it turned out quicker. Now it's just a matter of working the seams. And so you definitely want to like kind of pinch it and work them, because that will help soften up your curves to help it be more roundy. Especially if you're using PVC jelly vinyl or PVC clear, and then this is PVC, so it's a little bit, so it's a lot of stiffness in there. So if you use TPU jelly or TPU clear, that one is softer, so it will make it a little bit easier with the bun to use it as binding. But if all you have, like me, is PVC, then it works. It still works. Yeah, doing the pre-stitching down at 1/4 inch, perfection. Yeah, because you definitely, I had that issue with my first one, is I missed it, and so then I had to go back, and then I was thinking I had to maybe do some hand stitching. Nope. If you do that little pre-stitch, it's nice. It saves you from that worry and hassle for missing that stitch when you jump over. Okay, we are getting there. Oh my goodness. I already knew what it was gonna look like because I did the first one, but this one turned out really good. I'm very impressed that I still have my bag making domestic skills, somewhat. I've definitely been spoiled with my industrial and I love it. But this was my first bag making machine. I made quite a few on it. I'll just have to clean up the clear. Okay, now to turn off the light, well, let me add the battery pack first. And then I can turn out the lights. And then we can see it all finished. Okay, I'm just using my phone light for the moment. Okay, come on, yellow, be fantastic. All right, turn off my phone light. Oh, you can see the wire on the inside. Oh, but it looks so good. Let me zoom out a little bit. You can see the... Oh, it still looks so good with the yellow. I don't think it's not quite as bright compared to the white, but it still looks really good with the yellow. Oh, that's so cool. So I'm going to do a little side-by-side comparison so then you can see them both. And then, so then you guys can decide if you want to do yellow or if you want to do white. Okay, so here is both of the bags side by side. This one's not quite sitting up all the way straight. Little crooked, but it's okay. So now you can see, so this is the white light, which you will receive with the sew along. This is with white jelly, and this is with that gold yellow jelly. So you can see the difference between the two colors. I think they both look fantastic. The white one is brighter, but this one gives off a really cool color that it really coordinates really well. At least I think it coordinates really well with the gold hardware, and then the gold in the webbing. It looks good, but I still think that this would still look fantastic with the white jelly, would look fantastic with gold hardware, with the gold in the webbing. Either way, you can't go wrong with either option for what you use. And then if you wanted to use like the clear vinyl for your binding instead, and then because you do get the white lights in the sew along, but if you already have lights, and if you have like a really light blue light, a blue light would look really pretty with this too, or the yellow light would look really good as well. And then it would look really even more like the yellow light would be brighter with using the clear. If you used a yellow actual light wire with a clear vinyl, it would be the yellow would be a lot brighter rather than a little bit more. This one's a little more muted. So completely optional, but just remember that the light wire that comes with the sew along is white. So if you wanted a light blue or the yellow, you would have to order that on your own separately. Okay, but here they are, and they're all of their glory, and they do have different settings. So this is the constant on. If you push the power button again, as I get the battery pack, you have, where's the button? Where's got the button? Okay, so we have this, the always on, the slow flash, and then the fast flash, and then it goes to off. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you guys absolutely love this Doctor Who bag. I'm just geeking out over it, and I'm like, it's funny. I've never seen an episode of Doctor Who. No clue. I know it's like, yeah, I've heard it's really good, and I know I probably should watch it. But I've never watched an episode, and I'm still geeking out over this bag. So again, I know I've said it like twice already, but I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys enjoyed this sew along from K&A Custom Fabrics and Hardware, and look for this to be coming out. And if you're looking for the link, it is going to be down in the description. And thanks for watching.